Hello and welcome to another episode of NQT-Resources. So today I'd like to talk to you about behavior management, the dreaded behavior management. So first of all, I'd like you to know that every teacher has struggled with behavior management in their time. I mean, at some point you will struggle with the student or with a parent, but that's a different matter. And it's important to know that you're not alone in this, because everyone will just struggle with behavior management on some level. So, first rule is you are the boss of your own classroom. Remember that. If someone doesn't abide by your rules, you have to have sanctions and consequences. And these need to be clear from the very beginning. If you're lucky and you have a school that has a set behavior structure and a policy in place, if it's your rule that talking over each other isn't allowed in your classroom, then that's your rule and you put it down. So say it's the beginning of a new school year and you introduce yourself to your new students. In your first lesson, just make clear what your expectations are. This doesn't have to be super strict, it just needs to be clear. So you have a set of rules and your students abide by those rules, otherwise there will be consequences and they will be very clearly formulated by you. If someone does something that's against your rules, there needs to be something in place and they will know what that something will be. So maybe for instance, they have to do an extra task, or they can't sit with their friends, or they'll have to see the head of department, or you'll give their parents a call. It's just important that they know that there will be a consequence following their actions. For me, it's always important that they know that the third time round, when they're being disruptive, that's their red card and a consequence will follow directly. For instance, they're being disruptive once, you know your usuals, so you put their name down on the board and you say, okay, listen, this is your first warning. If I hear you talk to him again, then there'll be a strike next to your name, and the third time round it'll be a detention. Easy. So your student and everyone else knows that this rule is applicable right now, and they'll hopefully behave accordingly. If they don't, then there'll be a consequence. So you just need to make sure that you follow through with your rules, and it will have to be a set of rules that you can refer back to. So you can say, okay, during our first lesson I pointed out that these are my rules. You can see them here, you can find them there, have a reference point, or according to school policy, this is not allowed in our school. So they don't have anything to attack you with because you've said it, they knew it. There's no point of discussion, and there won't be any discussion because these are the rules and it's not their job to discuss this with you because you're the boss. Second very important rule, you don't have to be liked by everyone. It does help though, it does really help to be liked, but it just isn't the case that we're being liked by everyone all the time, so better get used to it. We're teachers, right? We're not their friends. We are their teachers and we are role models that they're looking up to. So if a student doesn't like you, there's only so much you can do. Maybe try and be especially fair to them. Just don't try too much because there's no point. Some students just make up their minds about you the first time you enter the classroom and they think, oh, I don't like her or I don't like him. For whatever reason, you might remind them of someone who hasn't treated them well in the past, and that's just that. There's not so much you can do about that, but you can always try to treat every student equally fair. That's very important because it will earn you respect. If you're trying to be as fair as possible and just play by the rules just as they are supposed to, you are the role model, they follow you, and that's just an important thing to do. So yeah, be fair, be as fair as you can, and have humor as well. Don't forget your humor, it's important. Some people say don't smile till Christmas, but come on. You are who you are, and if the kids are good, why not smile till Christmas? That's just not good advice. So you're allowed to smile, but you're also allowed to have your own rules, and they have to follow them. Along with that just comes being consistent. So You need to have this consistency. It's not always easy because teaching comes with those little challenges that parents face on a daily basis as well, you know? Some students are super cute and they get away with lots of things, but they shouldn't, because they need to abide by the rules just as much as everyone else does. And sometimes it's hard to just judge the right way, or you know, someone makes a noise when they're not supposed to and you think it's one student, but in fact it's someone else, and it's really hard to judge because you have like 30 kids in one classroom and it's hard to actually make out who it was, and then you think it was this student and everyone goes, no, it wasn't him. Okay, well then you'll give them another chance, but you just have to gauge it, and that'll earn you some respect as well. Just, if you try to be as fair and as consistent as possible, just pull through with it. If you catch someone chewing gum when they're not supposed to chew gum, you make them walk to the bin and spit it out in front of everyone. It's just how it goes. Didn't follow the rules. Oops. Another thing that I find really important is praise. So praise goes a long way, and even those kids who, well, they probably they struggle a lot in different areas, and it's not your fault, it's not their fault either. It just is. It just is. So sometimes you need to give those kids extra praise, even if you don't feel like it, or if it's a small thing. Just give them that praise. They are longing for it. They need to hear that they're good enough. Everyone needs that sometimes, that little bit of affirmation, you know, you are good enough. This is really good. You've done that very well. I'm impressed with your work. This is so good. Some kids are really shy, so they might not like it so much if you do it publicly, but there might be ways for you to just give them praise regardless. So you could leave them a little note in their book. You could give them a little sticker. You could give them a little post-it with a little private note that you're really proud of their achievement today, and it'll go a long way. You know, how did you feel when a teacher did that to you, if they did that? It makes you feel good. It's just a natural phenomenon, you know. It'll make them feel good about themselves, and that'll reflect when you teach them. Even if it's just for a little while, but you know, it might be the thing that makes the difference and makes your life easier in turn as well. Then there are things like tally charts, so you can have a plus and a minus for behavior on your board. You can put, along with this praise thing, you can put the names of the students who behave well when they're supposed to work well, you know, work quietly. You put their names on the board and you say, or thank you so-and-so for being on task. Thank you so-and-so for doing a good job. Thank you so-and-so for not talking. Thank you so-and-so. Whatever it is, you know, something positive pointed out. Sometimes there's only so much you can actually achieve with praise, and that's when the sanctions come in, and they have to be done as well, you know. Sometimes you have a kid who's just not behaving according to your rules, and they might just be hindering progress in your classroom, which you absolutely want to avoid, because that's what it's all about, right? You need to progress everyone in this classroom, and this one kid is just starting discussions about everything all the time, or they're talking low-level chatter all the time, and it's just distracting and annoying. That's when the seating plan comes in. So the seating plan is a super handy tool, and it should be on your list first thing. So the seating plan means you assess the skills and abilities of your students, but also their mindset and their attitude to learning. Make yourself a little map. If you don't know your students well yet, then just print out their pictures. I mean, this needs to be locked away. It's your personal thing that no student should have access to, because you'll code it. So you'll color code it. You'll give your students different color codes according to their abilities and their struggles and their behavior as well. So you create the seating plan, and sometimes it just works doing boy-girl next to each other. It depends on the year group as well. There are different. There are different ways of doing a seating plan, different shapes. Ask your mentor maybe, or you can just look up some groups or ask in a Facebook teaching group. They are quite helpful usually, and there are good Twitter groups as well for teachers where you can just pick up on those tips. Yeah, I can't stress enough how important seating plans are, because they can make a big difference in your classroom. Sometimes kids think it's still cool to like scream through the whole classroom to entertain their peers, but that's just what we sometimes have to deal with, and then you just need to give them a warning, be consistent with it. I know sometimes for me it's really hard giving warnings and staying consistent and giving them detentions after the third time or whatnot, but they expect it and you need to follow through, because otherwise they know, oh, she's lax, or oh, he's lax, or oh, they're lax. I can do whatever I like with them, and this is definitely not what you want, because you want to make them progress and learn your subject. So be consistent, please. Be consistent. Do yourself the favor. For me, it took a while as well till I actually took this advice on board myself. And it's a pain, because you really have to train yourself to resist the urge of, just let it go this time. Because, of course, yeah, it takes you time. It's extra time and effort that you have to put in. You have to log it. And, that's a good point, actually, logging all of this. So if there's a behavior incident, write it down. Write it down in a file that you'll find straight away if you have to, because everything will go into that file. So you'll have your student name or your code for your student name, and behavioral issues, or things you've done with them. If you've checked their book, put it in that file. If you've had a call to their parents, put it in the file. What was it about? Maybe do a little checklist. You could just put it in your planner, and at the end of the day, write it up, type it up quickly. What have I done today? Which student was particularly good today? What did they do that made them stand out from the crowd? What did they do that wasn't good, that I have to note in my planner, in order to be prepared when I have a parent meeting? And I can just, I can go back and see, okay, this date here, he or she did this and that, and I gave them a warning because this was not appropriate to happen in my class. It's backed up, it's there in writing, and it's just important for you to have this backup, because that can actually be super useful. There's another important thing. Give your students responsibility and also decision-making skills and opportunities. So, say you want to do a task, or this here is in the lesson plan for the next few weeks, maybe give them a little choice. So if you have two options, for instance, a short story you want to read, give them a choice of two stories that they can pick from. They always need to feel that they are contributing, because that makes them feel important, and it also helps you to just show them that you care for what they are thinking. Because if you just tell them what to do all the time, they feel like, well, why am I doing this? I don't owe her anything. Why should I be doing this? But if you explain to them why it's good for them to do this, what the purpose of learning this is for them, if you go into detail about that and then give them an option, it makes them feel like active participants in your classroom, and that is very important for them. You can also appoint a student of the week, or a student of the day, or a student of the month. Make them have an important role, so they could be the leader of the pack for the day. Another tip I have for you is this book. It really helped me a lot. So if you can't read it, just in case, it's called Classroom Presence Pocket Book, and that's really what it is. It's a pocket book. It's tiny, and it has amazing tips in it. The author is Rob Salter. There's a little blurb on the front page of this book, and it says, "Develop your presence and persona to transform the atmosphere, behavior, and relationships in all your classes." And I cannot recommend this book enough. It really helped me a lot when I started out. So get it. It's only, how much is it? Doesn't have the price on it here, but under £10 for sure. So I really hope this video helped you a bit. If you have any more questions, if you want to know anything in particular, leave me a comment in the comment section. And also please, please, please like and subscribe and hit the little bell so you get updates about new videos. I would like you to do that for me, please. Other than that, have a lovely, lovely day, and I shall see you here again soon. Bye bye.